Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, shapes, and forms, welcome to the third episode of Animu Wut Do. As always, I am Greg. I'm here with Mira. Say hello. And of course, you always do that. It caught me off guard again. Oh boy. But no, welcome to another episode of Animu Wut Do, your part podcast, part anime watch club. 100% anime trash, as we always say. This week, as we revealed at the end of last episode, we're going to be talking about what's one of my favorite shows of this year already, Death Parade. Now, anybody who maybe is familiar with kind of what we do with the Snazzy Cast and stuff like that, you know that a while back when the show first ended, we did a spoiler cast, me, Kari, and May all talked about Death Parade in depth. So, with that being said, I am not going to be talking about nearly as much, mainly because Mira here didn't get to kind of deprogram from the ending of Death Parade. So a lot of what we're going to talk about today, I think a lot of it is this is probably going to be the most spoiler heavy episode of Animu Wut Do. So just a word of warning right now. And we're going to kind of briefly talk about some general stuff and then just jump right on into the spoilers because there's a lot I'm sure Mira will need to deprogram from. We also are going to have the question at the end and all that fun stuff. We're also going to kind of talk about this show as one of the three important shows to Funimation doing their simulcast dubs at the beginning of the year as well. We'll kind of briefly talk about that as well and kind of our opinion on the dub of the show also. Which, spoiler alert, we love. So, let's get on into Death Parade. So, Mira, you've been the one that's been kind of good at kind of summarizing shows and stuff like that. And I kind of said in last week's, because it's not last week was Snazzy, guys. In the last episode of Animu Wut Do, that Haikyuu and the show that we're going to talk about today, which is Death Parade, really kind of nails the whole mood of the show in its first episode, when usually it takes a few episodes to kind of get started. So, with that being said, what would be, if you wanted somebody to check out this show, and you know somebody didn't know anything about the show, what would be your pitch for it?
Okay, stop me if you've heard this one before. Two people walk into a bar.
So two people walk into, okay.
Two people walk into a bar, and basically they get to play games at the bar. And there's a bit of a catch to it.
Ooh, nice. I love how you're leaving.
It gets really heavy.
I love how you're leaving the twist out, because that's how May presented it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. That is actually, I think, if somebody didn't know anything about Death Parade, yeah, that's exactly how I would put it. Again, I'm not going to go too much into it, because I said it last week.
Just be sure to leave the tip jar.
Yeah, seriously. No, I said it last time with Haikyuu, is that I feel like that Haikyuu and Death Parade really kind of nail what what you're getting yourself into in its first episode. So, for me, this is why we're going to jump right on into spoilers fairly early on, because for anyone who has not seen this show, I don't want to ruin anything about it, because I didn't have the first episode's twist ruined. So
yeah, it's best not to tell people what it's about. You need to find out.
Yeah, it's best not to know what's going on. But basically, my pitch would be like, first of all, it'd be like, just watch the first episode. But if anyone was like, well, what's it about? I would sit there and say, this couple wakes up in a bar. They don't remember how they got there. The bartender asks, they walk into this bar. The bartender introduces themselves and asks them to play a game with a little bit of a twist. And that's how I would explain it. Because that is almost word for word how May described the first episode of Death Parade to me. And yeah. I watched it when it first came out, and when you find out kind of what's going on, I was like, oh shit. And when I told my cousin about it, which I'll get into it in just a little bit, but I told my cousin about it, and I dropped that thing just to kind of explain it to him, because he doesn't watch too many new shows. He's a lot more of like, he loves his classic shows, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, you know? He grew up watching One Piece and Naruto and stuff like that, and Bleach. He also grew up with things like Ghost in the Shell and Cowboy Bebop and Trigun and shit like that. And he loves watching his old shit, you know? Like, he'll watch a new show here and there. But when I told him about Death Parade, I told him about the first episode, he stopped me and he was like, all right, what's that show called again? I'm like, it's called Death Parade. He says, I need to watch this show now, because that sounds really cool. I'm like, it's really good, dude. You'll really enjoy it.
It really is.
But yeah, in fact, actually, I'm just gonna say it right now. We're not even 5 minutes in. Spoilers are abound, ladies and gentlemen. We're just gonna jump right on into the spoilers because this is one of those shows that it's tricky to talk about without talking spoilers. So, when this thing is gone, there will be bits at the end because we're gonna talk about the dub of it at the end and stuff like that. We're just gonna get to spoilers now, just so we can talk freely about it, and then at the end we'll kind of talk opinion on the dub. We'll talk the question and stuff like that because the question is not a spoiler for the show at all, and all that fun stuff, and then the closing thoughts and stuff like that. So now that we're in the spoilers, the whole thing when I watched the first episode and I found out that they were both dead and this was their judgment, I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've seen.
Yeah.
I literally was like, I'm telling you right now, that first episode happened, and I was like, this is probably my favorite show of 2015. Because the first episode had me so hooked. And I want to say, May saw it, and then she told me to see it, and then I told you to check it out.
Wait, I think we were all on the podcast at the same time. She talked about it.
Well, I thought she kind of, but before the podcast.
I don't know about before, but I know, like, I was on when she introduced it at one point.
That's right, okay.
We were both on there.
Yeah, I think almost all of us were on there. But yeah, it did that whole twist of like, yeah, this couple died, and this is their judgment. And it's really cool how they kind of, how that kind of happens, and kind of, I love, here's the thing that I was worried about when I watched episode 2. Is I saw episode 2 and it was still really good, but I was worried. I'm like, I don't want this overarching story about what's going on with the Arbiters. I don't want it to suck. And lo and behold, it was amazing.
And lo and behold, it didn't suck.
No, oh yeah, for once, a show's sub-arc didn't suck. You know, like, you have things like Tokyo Ghoul Route A, where their whole sub-arc is about characters that nobody gives a fuck about. And then you have Death Parade, whose sub-arc is almost just as important as the main plot.
You bring up Tokyo Ghoul, and I'm looking up Tokyo Ghoul cosplays.
Nice. Awesome.
Irony.
I say I need to finish up watching Route A so we can finally do our Animu Wut Do on Tokyo Ghoul. That's going to come eventually.
Yeah.
We're going to eventually do that because that's going to be an interesting debate because I have some opinions on Route A that it's really interesting kind of how that happened. But anyway, getting back to Death Parade. So yeah, so the first episode you find out that this couple is dead and that this is their judgment. And it's crazy, like, because then they kind of like lose their fucking mind, like, no, this can't be. And then they remember, yeah, we just fell off a fucking cliff in a car and died.
Yeah.
And it's cool how they kind of do that. And I like that a lot. I really like how, you know, you see kind of what's going on, and then you see fucking the opening, which is Flyers from Radio, which is like this really catchy upbeat song, and you're like, this is not what the show is going to be, is it? And it's a really fucking dark show, and you're like, but it has a catchy theme song though.
It's exactly like Tokyo Ghoul.
Kind of.
It's got a really, really catchy opening, especially for season 1.
Oh yeah,
and
well, Unravel's the best thing that happened to Tokyo Ghoul. Let's be real for a moment.
And then the show happened, and you're just sobbing in your corner.
We'll get to that another day. Because there's a lot of crying and shit that happens in this as well. Because this, in the spoiler cast that we talked about, and I kind of want to hear what you have to say, is one of the things that Kari said. Kari from K&K Streams, one of the things that Kari said was she loves that Death Parade focused on a lot of really touchy topics, but in the best way they could have anyone could handle a topic like that. Like, they handled the topic of rape perfectly with the guy who died going after his sister's assaulter.
Yeah.
And they handled suicide perfectly with the guy that committed suicide in episode 4. And then when you find out the identity of the assistant being Chiyuki, and you found out she committed suicide with what happened to her. They handle that really well. They handle kind of the dilemma of like the victim dilemma. With again, going back to the guy who went after his sister's assaulter, he's paired up with a detective that could have helped his sister not be assaulted, and it's implied raped. I'm fairly certain she was probably raped as well.
Yeah, that's the impression I had too.
Here's another thing that they did well. They didn't depict the rape at all. You knew that it kind of happened though. Because when you see a guy on top of a girl with a knife to her throat, you kind of can assume what's going to happen.
Yeah, he's obviously not there to mug her.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah, it's not like the first episode of Psycho Pass where the dude is like pushing a hot knife against a woman's neck while he's raping her.
Yeah.
It's not that at all. They don't even, like I said, they don't depict it, but like it still hits hard because then you see like the result of like the guy's sister, like she's just completely shut down.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, that's fucking hard, heavy. And then in the episode with the suicide with the one guy who in English was voiced by Ian Sinclair, his whole breakdown of like, why did I do this? I should have just given her a chance, because it was like the whole thing with it was his stepmom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was his stepmom, and all she wanted was him to call her mom.
Yeah.
And that never happened because he threw himself out a window because he was so upset.
Hearing that episode dubbed did not help me at all.
There's a lot, like, we'll get into the dub talk, but there's a lot of scenes in the dub that hit me even harder in English than it did in Japanese.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, which is weird to say because the only other show that has done that was Attack on Titan. The only other show. Like, I didn't cry with the whole thing with Marco. I wasn't super upset to John's reaction to what happened to Marco in Attack on Titan. In English, I bawled like a baby. But in Japanese, I was like, wow, that's really sad.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't see, because, like...
It didn't help that episode had Monica in it, so, like...
Yeah, go back to Death Parade, anyway. Going back to Death Parade. The episode 4, because it's the housewife... The abused housewife that finally found success to take care of her family.
Yeah, who was neglecting her kids because she was trying to build up her career.
Yeah.
So she could take care of them and whatnot.
It's kind of a weird thing. And it's like, it was weird. And this goes into like the whole dub versus sub kind of debate, which is the only time we'll ever kind of talk about this, is that in Japanese, that scene, it was like, I was really angry at the mother. And I was like, why the fuck are you doing this? But in English, for some reason, I don't know if it was like a translation thing or whatever, but when they made it clear that she's neglecting her kids because of the complex of she's building her career to take care of her kids.
Yeah.
Then I was like, you deserve to be reincarnated because, yeah, there might have been neglects, but you were just trying so hard to take care of your family. And you finally hit some success.
And then at the end, she's like begging Deckham to take her back to her kids, and it's like,
and that's how you know that was her true intention. It was never money. It was never power. It was, I need to see my kids again, and that's kind of, and like I said, that hit me way harder in English than it did in Japanese. Not to discredit the moment in Japanese, because it's a really heavy moment in both English and Japanese. I connected with it better in English. One of the rare occurrences that I was able to connect, because usually I can connect just as well in Japanese as I can in English, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a case of like I connected even more in the English version of it.
I will say it was probably a translation thing, because like Japanese words tend to be like, longer, so the lines are longer, but they fit less words.
Right.
English, we have like shorter words that we can fit into so many sentences with the lip flaps.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So they probably got more information in with her lines in English than they did with Japanese.
Probably. Yeah.
Which is probably why it made more sense to you in English.
Probably. Yeah. But yeah, like that hit hard. The whole 2-part episode, the air hockey one, you lost your shit over it because you're like, I fucking love air hockey. There needs to be air hockey. Oh my god, I'm getting an air hockey. I'm getting 2 air hocky episodes.
It was like the world knew I had a crappy day.
You were having a shit day too, and then all of a sudden you go to watch Death Parade, you're all, I'm doing better now, and then you're like, I get 2 of them. Yes.
Yeah, and it ended with a cliffhanger, and we're like, wait, there are 2 episodes. Oh my god.
That was the episode where it's one of us is the killer, but then you realize they both are murderers. And it's like both of us.
I guess you could say killer is dead.
Hey! Pew, 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 pew. No, anyway.
Killer is dead ×2.
Whoa, Killers is dead.
Oh.
That'll be the sequel, Killers is dead. But no, anyway, so Killer, that was the episode. That was episodes 8 and 9 where you found out about the 2 guys that show up. That was the detective. So basically, that was the one where the guy, the one guy, he went after his younger. He was the older brother, right?
Yeah.
He went after his younger sister's rapist and assaulter, and and then the detective was killed by that guy because
the detective was sneaking into the house.
Yeah, the detective was sneaking into the house.
And he didn't know that the brother was there, and the brother, thinking it was somebody else coming after him, attacked in self-defense.
Right, yeah, and it was all kind of that whole thing. Did we ever find out how the brother died?
I
don't think we ever did.
I don't remember, actually.
I think it's just like he died, but we didn't know why. Or how.
I wonder if I can go find it.
I don't think it did. I really don't.
I'll check and see if maybe the wiki has it.
Yeah, but
it's about all I can do.
Well, the reason why I don't think they did because the more important thing was the fact that the detective and the older brother knew they had seen each other before, and that was that. And then the reason why he killed him is because it was like his sister was like, and then there was his friend that was watching, and that goes into the whole victim complex where it's like the detective who was a fucking piece of shit about that situation, mind you. He was all, I needed her to be a victim in order to be able to properly go after him. It's all, well, when a guy's on top of a chick with a knife to her throat, she's already a fucking victim, dude.
By the way, Wiki says that the sister actually was raped.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it is confirmed.
It is confirmed.
Wow, it is very much confirmed.
Very much confirmed. There you go. But, yeah, because there was a whole thing with the detectives, like, I needed her to be a victim. But the brother's like, she was already a victim as you watched.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's just like, no.
Yeah, that's fucked, dude. It really was. Because I remember when I watched it, because I was like, how do they know each other? Like, in the first episode, and then the second episode, I was like, oh, that fucking piece of shit. And, like, they both went to the void. Mm-hmm. But I think, if anything... He clearly the detective clearly deserved it.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm still kind of on the fence about the older brother, because it's like, yeah, he murdered, 2 dudes.
Mm-hmm.
But it was because he was trying to protect his sister, which is where I'm on the fence about it.
Well, that and the detective didn't really care where he went, because he basically, his wife had gotten killed, so he took revenge for his wife. So he didn't really care anymore after that.
Right, exactly.
So that's why he didn't really care where he went.
Right, and because that's the whole thing where it's like, because the older brother's like, there's no way I can kill him again, right? It's all no, but you can inflict an infinite amount of pain on this man. And then there's a whole breakdown.
It's just horrible because Chiyuki's pleading, don't do this. You have a chance to be reincarnated to go see your sister again.
And he's sitting there and he's like, I can do this. And you think, that was a cool moment. Because he's all like, you think he's going to not do it, like the typical cliche. But then the detective is like, no, fucking do it. I don't care anymore.
Just taunting him.
He started taunting him at that point. And so he how should I say this word?
He threw away his chance to be reincarnated.
There you go. He threw away his chance to be reincarnated to inflict ungodly amounts of pain to this man before being sent to the void.
Mm-hmm.
And that was big. I was like, oh shit, because the ending hits right as he's yelling and using the knife to stab all the air hockey chips that have all the body parts on it.
God.
Can I also talk about?
It's just like death billiards in a way.
Kind of, yeah, it really was. Which that was really cool for anyone who doesn't know. I guess I should have talked about this in the non-spoiler thing. But unlike most anime, which is taken from some sort of either light novel or manga, Death Parade is basically a greenlit project after an anime jam where a bunch of creators came together and made a 25-minute short called Death Billiards, which was basically these two guys show up at a bar and they're asked to play a game of pool to put their life on the line, and then they find out that they are dead.
And each billiard ball has an organ on them.
Right. Yeah. Which
and if you hit them or pocket them or whatever, you inflict pain in that general area.
Which they bring back in Death Parade, but with two completely different people.
Well, that and they did it in no, I guess I was gonna say the bowling episode too, but no, that was just one organ.
No, the bowling episode was the heart because they could read how the heart was pumping. That
episode hurt me horribly.
Oh, that was a good one. That was one of the few happy episodes, but it was still sad.
Well, in a series with that subject matter, that's the happiest we're gonna get.
Right? Yeah. Seriously, that and the one with the old lady towards the end, where she's all, "I lived a good life," where she was like, "I lived a very good life. I had a."
Yeah, where if anyone watching Death Billiards, that you might remember that character is the old man's wife from Death Billiards.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a cool connection. Because I remember I had watched the first 3 or 4 episodes of Death Parade, and then I went back and watched Death Billiards. So it was still kind of I had seen Death Billiards, and then I was like, "Oh shit, that's the old man's wife." That was really cool.
Yeah, they did that flashback and showed his picture, and I'm like,
oh, that's the guy. That's the old guy. I remember him. And I just love because that episode just came after. Was that? No, it wasn't right after the one with they're both the killer. No, yeah, it was. It was right after.
Yeah, I think so. It was
because that's when you find out Chiyuki's name.
Yeah, because she remembered it during the card game that they were playing.
Yeah, because then you find out her name, and then the next episode is you find out her backstory, and then the last episode is the whole kind of deception and stuff like that.
Her backstory.
Yeah, shit. You want to talk about another moment that made me cry? Was because basically her backstory, Chiyuki. Because anyone who doesn't know is that up until episode 10, the main assistant, the female with the black hair and the little one little silver stripe in the front. With the black outfit, she had no name. She was just assistant, or according to Anime News Network, woman.
Or black-haired woman, depending on
black-haired woman. That's what it was. It was just a generic thing because she didn't have a name. But then you find out, because you find out halfway through that she was human, but she didn't remember that she had died, so they wiped her memory. Mm-hmm. And so there's this whole thing where it's like. Where it's like Deckham's got to judge Chiyuki at some point. It's like you got to judge her at some point because if she stays here, she's gonna deteriorate and fall apart.
Yeah, humans can't stay in the void or in the bar. Basically,
they can't stay with the arbiters for too long.
Yeah,
I think it was a few months, and then they finally start decaying. Mm-hmm. Because they all the bodies turn into the mannequins, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they're basically souls attached to mannequins.
Right. But basically, they have this whole bit where you find out her name in episode 10. I mean, because you kind of know it's she was human, but they weren't able to catch judgment. Then you find that out in episode 7, and then it's in episode 10, you find out her name is Chiyuki. I was like, oh, yay. And then you kind of see a small flash of her as a little child. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, you have her full back. Sorry, I'm just thinking back to because the whole thing with her reading the book about Chavot and the dub of it where it's all poor Jimmy. I'm sorry. That's why I started laughing.
Poor Jimmy.
Poor Jimmy. But no, anyway. So
I thought you were going to her backstory episode. I was just
no, I'm going right into the backstory. So the backstory, you find out that she was an ice skater. And she was really fucking good. She was going to like events and tournaments and stuff like that. But then one day, and it's like the way that they reveal it is awesome because she's doing this whole routine. And it's like Deckham's just watching this like beautiful ice skating routine. Then
there's piano music in the background.
Yeah, because he has one of the mannequins playing piano. That was it, right? It was one of the mannequins he had playing piano? Yeah. So she's skating, and then all of a sudden she lands, and then you see her knee become like the knee of a mannequin. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, oh, shit. And you find out when she was alive, she had a knee injury that she was not going to skate ever again.
Yeah.
So then she's like, I'm never going to be able to skate again. And then it's like she just spiraled into this depression, and you find out she just slit her wrists in the bathroom one day and killed herself. And the craziest thing about that is after you find out that she had killed herself, you see around her like whole wrist is just like a mannequin.
Yeah.
And for the rest of the show, those and the knee are what's it called? Are just mannequin until she finally passes at the end of the show. But yeah, that hit hard as well. That really hit home. It was like, oh shit, that's crazy. That is insane. And then I know there's
the last episode hurt.
That last episode really hurts because then Deckham, he's trying to get her to pass, and I need to go back a little bit because there's something important that we're forgetting to talk about. It's Ginty.
That's what I was sitting there like, it's Ginty, isn't it?
It's Ginty. No, but episode 5, we're introduced to another arbiter named Ginty.
It's Ginty for personal and not personal reasons.
What?
It's Ginty for personal and not personal reasons.
Yeah, you're right. But no, so Ginty introduces this other arbiter. And Ginty kind of serves as a foil for Deckham. Because, like, Deckham, you find out, he's an arbiter that's been laced with human emotions. And Ginty is just a typical arbiter. Because arbiters were never alive. Arbiters don't empathize for humans. They don't understand where they're coming from. And Deckham was kind of like a science project by Nona.
Yeah, arbiters are basically just meant to pass judgment and move on. Yeah,
basically, which is why I needed to go back a little bit before explaining what Deckham was trying to do at the end of the last episode. But it's like, Ginty is just like, he accepts it. He's all, I was never human. I don't care about humans. I just want to pass judgment and move on to the next person. Well,
which definitely comes out when he has his episode with the idol and the fangirl.
With was it Mayu?
Mayu and Harada.
That's what it was. Mayu and Harada. Yeah, shout out to Bryn April in English was the chick in the bowling episode. I forgot who voiced the Mayu, but Harada was Josh Greeley. Shout out to Josh Greeley, who was Armin.
Yeah, Josh.
He's going to be Nitori and free.
Leah Clark was Mayu.
Leah Clark, there you go. I was trying to remember somebody I know. Yeah, Leah Clark, she was fucking hilarious as Mayu, by the way. Like, I loved her before, but then, like, she shows up in the dub. I'm like, Jesus Christ. She just nailed that fangirl bit perfectly. She reminded me of a K-pop fangirl. I'm not going to lie. It was fucking funny.
She really was.
She really did. She really did. And it was funny.
That's the scary part.
It really is. Like,
I was sitting there like, that is what a say song is. Oh, no.
Yeah, God bless you. I don't know what you just said right there, but I think you just insulted my family and my whole existence. Anyway,
for anyone
K-pop security guards at concerts are fucking brutal.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know what that term meant, it's basically the crazed, like, insane fans that, like, stalk idols and do really crazy shit.
Like, have my babies, like, my vagina's already open for you. In the name of
their idols, basically.
Yeah, you're right. But anyway, like, that's important because they end up staying.
Yeah.
So, like, they stay, and, like, it becomes apparent that, like, Harada's starting to decay. Mm. So, Ginty, being the typical arbiter, he's all, go down to the bottom level. If you go down to the void, you can try to find his soul. And it's basically just him
for years.
Yeah, it's basically just him tricking Mayu and Harada to get into an elevator to finally go down into judgment. and not be there anymore.
Yeah.
Decim is presented with the same situation with Chiyuki. Takes her down to the bottom level, sets up this whole situation. He's all, if you press this button, somebody else will die, but you'll be able to go see your mother again. And he's setting this whole thing up, and you keep seeing, like, it's this whole scene where it's like her mom is crying at, like, the little memorial they have for Chiyuki, and she's like, I wish I could have been a better mother. And it's like, it's hitting Chiyuki hard and everyone. And then he's explaining, she's all, but it's somebody, and she's conflicted. She's all, I want to see my mom again, but I know that this one person that dies is important to somebody. Yeah. And so it's like, and Decim's bearing witness to all this, and Chiyuki breaks down, and because Decim has those human emotions, then Decim breaks down and he cries. And then he breaks down and cries because he finally is able to empathize with, like, what's going on in the situation. And then he strips away everything and he says, I'm sorry I tried to deceive you. And he's able to take Chiyuki back to the Quindecim and is able to let her go peacefully. Which is the whole thing that I love about the ending, and I kind of talked about this in the spoiler cast that we did.
By the way, Decim, don't forget to smile.
Oh yeah, that whole thing where she tried to get Decim to smile. That was
her parting gift to him.
Her parting gift was try to smile, and Decim's like, I've never smiled, and he tries to smile and is great, but as she's finally leaving, he finally genuinely smiles.
It reminded me of a cat grin the first time. I'm just like, I see the corners up, but nothing else.
Yeah, really. It was great.
I'm just like, this is like a cat.
It's a cat. He's just a cat.
He's a cat.
He's just a kitty. But no, it was he was able to let her pass. He was able to let her pass peacefully, basically. Yes. And the big thing that a lot of people were kind of confused about is that one of the whole subplots going on is that Oculus, who is basically like a Buddha-esque character. He's basically kind of like the dude that runs the place, at least from my perspective of it. He's kind of like the dude who runs the place.
Yeah.
He finds out that there is a quote-unquote human arbiter and tries to go after Nona. And Nona, being the clever bitch that she is like, I already have this all figured out.
Oh, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't. No, it's like, she basically, you find out, because at first you're kind of wary of, like, Nona. You're like, what? She knows something that we don't. But then you realize it's just, she knows how she wants this to end. And she knows where this needs to go. But she just doesn't, like, you know that she knows more than you do. But at the end, you find out it's not a bad thing. She just knew that things were going to happen, but she knew, she played her cards right. Because, like, at the end of the show, everyone was kind of confused. Like, well, what happened to the whole plot with Oculus? Because Oculus was like, there's not supposed to be any arbiters with human emotions. And it almost seemed like they dropped the subplot. But I kind of challenge people to kind of look at it a little differently. I mentioned it before that Ginty is kind of a foil for Decim. Because Ginty, he accepts he never lived. He accepts that. He's like, I never lived. I don't empathize for human beings. So when he goes to deceive Mayu and Harada, well, technically just Mayu, because Harada is kind of like not kind of in a catatonic state at that point. When he deceives Mayu, it doesn't matter because he's like, well, she's gone, whatever. It's not my problem. Decim can't do it because he empathizes for humans, and so for Ginty, he sent two people to the void that necessarily didn't really need to go to the void, but at least from what we've seen, because I mean, like, yeah, Harada was a womanizer, but he never was like a bad person. He was never kind of put on as a bad person. He enjoyed women, but that's about it. And then Mayu, just being a fangirl, she just loved this group Undying, and it helped her through a lot of hard times. And it's like, they didn't necessarily need to be sent to the void, but Ginty didn't care and sent them to the void. Decim, because he was not able to deceive Chiyuki, was able to let her pass on to where she deserves to go, which was to be reincarnated.
Yeah.
Which I feel like actually solves that subplot perfectly, because Oculus and Nona are bearing witness to that. And it kind of shuts Oculus up in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when people kind of, if they ever complain about the ending, I'm like, well, hold on, guys, hold on. I want you to think about it like this. And that's kind of, I had this whole long explanation about it, which it's all, like I said, I'm going to link to the spoiler cast that we did. because I think I went on like a 30-minute like monologue about that whole thing.
Monologue.
But yeah, no, it was cool. It was really cool. There's a lot of other cool other things as well that I loved, which was like the bowling episode, which is when you find out that like he's like, "Well, I gotta ask her on a date," and you find out it's not the chick you think it is.
Because she had plastic surgery.
Yeah, it was his other friend that had plastic surgery, and they were both voiced by Bryn April and Micah Solusod in English, and that was adorable. I was like, oh, that was cute.
Which like the other twist at the end of that episode was he knew the truth at that point.
He knew it the whole time.
He went with it anyway to make her happy.
What an outstanding guy.
I know.
I was like, oh, you deserve to be reincarnated. You two deserve to be reincarnated and meet each other again and fall in love.
You both just need to go be reincarnated and,
I really think part of why that was the only time. There's only one episode where both people get reincarnated and one episode where both people go to the void. The one where they both go to the void is the one with the two murderers, and then the one with the two people that get reincarnated are, the one in the bowling episode. And I was like, it's just me being the hopeless romantic. I'm like, they're gonna get reincarnated and meet each other again and fall in love. That would be their chance.
Yeah, that episode scared me because I thought they were going to follow the rule of one goes up, one goes down, and so I'm just sitting there thinking, how can you send one of these two down to the void to never be reincarnated? None of them did
anything wrong.
They really didn't. He just wanted to date her, and she just wanted him to like her like that, and it's just like, oh.
It's so tragic, but it's so great, though.
Yeah.
So, but, But anyway, so like I kind of talked about my whole thing about the ending, and I feel like the show ended on a perfect note. What about you? What was your do you feel like the show ended perfectly? Was there any gripes you had about the ending? Anything you want to voice about it?
I think the ending was probably the best way it could have ended, but still with Chiyuki being my favorite character, it hurt me really bad.
I get it, but I'm glad they didn't pull any Deus Ex Machina shit, though. I would have felt
Dang it, misread it again!
Oh, dang it! Yeah. Oh, dang it! I let it slide again. Shout out to Matt Pat. I love that. That's one of my favorite Matt Pat jokes. Is due to the power of Deus Ex Machina. Shoot, I did it again.
Which he did in Film Theory, by the way.
Dude, Film Theory, good show. We'll talk about that on the podcast. But
like I know she had to, pass on and everything, and I was glad it ended up.
I honestly would have been mad if she didn't pass. If they would have found some magical way that she got to stay. I would have been really mad. Because,
or if she had pressed the button, like, no.
Yeah, like
that would have been a horrible plot for her.
Yeah, it just I
think goes against her character.
It really does. Yeah, it just. Especially with the whole thing with the guy that was one of the murderers, the older brother.
Yeah, she was begging him not to do it so he could get reincarnated, so her pressing the button wouldn't have made sense.
No, it didn't. And it's just like, I feel like if they pulled some sort of like, oh, she got to stay with him, like, that would have been cheap. And if she pushed the button, that would have been cheap on Chiyuki's character. It would have regressed her character development. But I think Decca breaking down and kind of letting her be able to pass naturally, it's like, you knew it had to happen, and it happened the way that it kind of had to. So, and it was good. It was, like I said, it's a perfect ending, and I think everything was wrapped up perfectly. And at the end, he built the mannequin to remember her.
Yeah, and he had her sitting at the counter.
Yep, holding the two little Shavuot dolls.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Jimmy.
Shavuot and Jimmy. Poor Jimmy.
Poor Jimmy.
Poor Jimmy.
So, do we want to talk about the dubcast without spoilers or with spoilers?
Probably with, considering I don't know what
I think this whole episode is just going to be spoilers. I think I'm just going to call this Animu Wut Do episode 3.
If nothing else, we can talk about Death Billiards in non-spoiler because, I mean, at least they'll hear about Death Billiards.
Yeah, I'll mention that at the end.
Yeah.
I'll mention that when we do the recommendations and stuff like that. But, alright, so, like, the dubcast, I want to go over this real quick. So, the dubcast had a lot of people that weren't usually, like, you had, like, half new people, half old people. By old people, I mean, like, veteran, like, Funimation voice actors. Because you had, like, Jade Saxton. Well, I mean, for the main cast.
Well, I mean.
Because you had Jade Saxton, Markey. You had Jamie Markey, you had Zach Bolton,
Leah,
Alex Organ, who's Deckham, and some new guy for Oculus. No, it wasn't a new guy. No, who was Oculus?
Jeremy Schwartz.
Yeah, there you go. It's just a
I have
name
I have the cast list up right now, so I'm looking.
Go ahead and read off the cast list for people.
Deckham was Alex Organ.
Right.
Jamie Marquis was Chiyuki.
Right.
Anastasia Munoz is Quinn.
That's right. That was
we forgot to bring up Quinn. Oops. Quinn.
I love Quinn.
Jade Saxton, Nona.
Right.
Jeremy Schwartz was Oculus. Leah Clark was Mayu. Some person named Morgan Garrett was Castra. I forget who Castra is.
Yeah, I forget too.
I'll look that up at some point.
You're right.
Ginty, Robert McCollum.
Oh yeah, Robert McCollum was Reiner in Attack on Titan and Shinya Kogami in Psychopaths.
Misguided Bar. Charles Bolton was Clovis.
Yeah, there you go. And then a clusterfuck of everybody.
Brandon Potter, Bran April, Eric Vale, Ian Sinclair, Josh Greeley, Kent Williams, Linda Leonard, Lydia Mackey, Martha Harms, Maxie Whitehead, Micah Solusad, Monica Rial, Rachel Robinson, Stephanie Young, Tia Ballard, Todd Habercorn, Trina Nishimura, Alexis Tipton, Christopher Weckamp. What is that last name?
That's a name.
Wehkamp. However you pronounce that name.
Weckamp, whatever.
There you go. John Bergmeyer, Christy Kang, Morgan Garrett, and Nick Haley.
That's a lot of people. I can breathe again. No.
And out of all of those, Kent is probably the most veteran of veterans in this cast.
Yeah, and he was in 2 episodes because he was the detective.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, you right. Look, Kent Williams. He's gonna be in a new show too.
Is he really?
Yeah, he and I gotta remember. I think Trina Nishimura is in the show as well.
Oh boy.
It's cool. I'm excited to check it out. But that's not about Death Parade, so back to Death Parade. So no, I feel like because I watched the show all the way in English, and then I watched the show all the way in Japanese when it was coming out, and then I went back and was watching the episodes in English, and I think the English version is up there. English version of this show is going to be definitely one of my top picks for best dubcast of 2015. Because we're dub trash. We watch dubs, but we also watch subs as well. But I feel like
when it was streaming, I will say the thing that destroyed me was that the last episode of Death Parade came out on the last day of Tokyo Ghoul Rude.
Yeah,
I was working that day, and I got back here to the apartment, and I watched those 2 episodes, and I was a crying mess.
Well, you watched Route A first, and then you went and watched Death Parade, and you're like, well, at least Death Parade had some sort of happy-ish ending.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I know, but because I had, long story short, with Tokyo Ghoul Rude, I dropped Tokyo Ghoul Rude after 4 episodes because I did not like it at all, as much as I loved the first season. And then I heard that I dropped right when the episodes were starting, right when it made sense why the first episodes dragged. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I need to go back and rewatch Route A.
You dropped it when it got good.
Well, yeah. Well, I also hear one of the things is that it justified why the first 4 episodes were slow. Because it needed to set up what happened at the end. So, but so I was just watching Death Parade, so I had no clue what happened. Well, I kind of had it spoiled for me because I didn't care at that point. I'm like, well, okay, what happens at Route A? And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, okay. I wonder why everyone's losing their shit. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, those both came out on the same day.
And I think weren't we watching the dub at some point together, a couple episodes together? I think maybe the video game one at least.
For Death Parade? Yeah, we watched the first 4 episodes of the dub together, and then we kind of just watched it on our own.
Yeah, because that last episode just made us cry really hard.
Yeah, we're just it really was. But it was
that next one would have hurt because wasn't that the bowling episode afterwards?
The bowling episode, dude.
That would have killed us.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, I watched the bowling episode dubbed, and it was beautiful. Bryn April has the voice of an angel, and she's amazing because she was also Krista in Attack on Titan.
So she's already a goddess.
Yeah, she's got this amazing angelic voice, and it's great. I love it. So, but yeah, the dubcast is really good, and a lot of a lot of spots, like I said, the whole episode with Monica Rial's character being the woman with the family, and Ian Sinclair being the guy voicing the guy who committed suicide. And then you had Kent Williams and Todd Haberkorn as the two killers.
Yeah.
Which that was insane. And then just Alex Organ and Jamie Marchi's performance in the last episode was fucking amazing. Especially when Deckham's like, "I'm sorry, I tried to deceive you." That whole
Chiyuki's whole like breakdown was amazing, and it
was amazing already. And then in comes Alex Organ to put the icing on the Fields cake, and it's like, holy shit.
Alex and Jamie both in like the last 2 episodes were just like, "You're breaking my heart."
Yeah, seriously, dude. Like, oh,
like Jamie in particular, but it's just like, oh.
Well, Jamie Marchi talking about like Chiyuki's backstory is fucking sad, dude. It really is fucking sad. So, was there anything else we want to talk about spoiler wise before we finally get to the final question and wrapping everything up?
No, I think we're good.
All right, cool. Alrighty, so since we're all good with that, welcome back everybody who skipped basically the whole episode of Animu Wut Do this time. This won't be the case. I'm going to tell you right now, this won't always be the case. It's just the one thing with Death Parade is really hard to talk about without spoilers. So this isn't one of those rare occasions that we didn't have like a 20-minute general period and a 20-minute spoiler period. So there's that. So now the question that I'm going to pose to you guys, because we did the question last week, or last time with Haikyuu, about what position you wanted to be in like which position you would be in on the volleyball team. My question is, out of all the games that were played in the show, you had darts, you had bowling, you had billiards, you had air hockey. Is there any others I'm missing? No, and you had the video game.
Yeah.
Out of all those, which one were your favorite? I already know your answer, but you can say it anyway. And which game would you have liked to have seen an episode centered around?
Well, my favorite was air hockey.
Yeah, and you got 2 episodes of that shit.
I know, it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Games that could have been played, I don't know, maybe like more card games, because I know they played Old Maid at one point.
More card games?
More card games.
It's just an episode of them playing fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering, but their lives are at stake.
On motorcycles?
Yes, on motorcycles. Card games on motorcycles.
I don't know, I can't really think of any games. I think maybe like, I don't know, maybe miniature golf, I don't know.
Mini golf, oh shit.
I was thinking arcade games. I'm like, miniature golf?
Mini golf, that would be insane.
I don't know how they would do it, but I don't know how they do it, but it would be funny.
It would be like mini golf of death. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know how that would work, but knowing the creators of Death Parade, they would do it. It would be great.
They really would.
They really would. And then let's see. My favorite was probably the fighting game.
Oh yeah.
Because I like how they brought in like people that they knew, which was really cool. It was like a personalized video game, which was awesome.
Yeah, the characters you get to pick from are you.
What?
And the characters you pick from to play are you.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really that was really a cool concept, the way that they messed with that. But my favorite a game that I think they would have been really well. God, I had an idea for this and it completely slipped my mind because I was thinking about it when I was showering before we started recording.
Oh no!
And now I don't remember. Shit.
You'll remember it. We'll add it in.
What?
You'll remember it and then we'll add it in.
Yeah, we'll just add it in. It was this.
Just so you know.
Yeah, just so you know. But that would involve editing on my part and all that fun stuff. And I'm lazy. No, I'm lazy. I don't know. No, but it was like some because you had darts. I was thinking like bar games.
Beer pong.
Fucking beer pong.
Can you just imagine?
Okay. Whatever answer I had is shit compared to fucking beer pong. Death Parade episode on beer pong. Fuck yes. 10 out of 10. Best episode ever. It's got to involve 2 Irishmen too.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, dude.
Or like one is Irish and one is Scots, and the other one's trying to drink each other under the table.
Yeah, they're trying. Yeah, yes, yes. Death Parade OVA, please, please. So an Irishman and a Scotsman walk into a bar.
Oh.
The bartender says, "Would you like to play a game that might put your life on the line?" They said, "Well, what kind of game is it?" And they say, "Beer pong." And they say, "Well, absolutely. We call that breakfast." It would be beautiful. I would love it. Well, it's perfect. So I think that's. I want to end that episode. I want to end this episode on that. So
wait, Death Billiards.
Oh yeah, Death Billiards. So for people who didn't get to hear us talk about Death Billiards, usually an anime is based off of a manga or a light novel or something of the like. Death Parade was actually based off of an anime jam video or a 25-minute short called Death Billiards that was created, I think, mid 2014. It was like kind of like, there's like game jams out there where they like a bunch of people come together to create like a game in a short amount of time. A bunch of anime creators, whether I don't remember if they're like a bunch of popular dudes or just a bunch of dudes came together and they created this 25-minute short called Death Billiards. And it basically was the concept, and it got picked up for a 12-episode series that became Death Parade. The cool part about it, since you guys are going to go check out the series, we talked about the Easter egg in the spoiler section, but there is an an awesome Easter egg to Death Billiards in Death Parade, like in episode 10.
It makes more sense if you watch Death Billiards first and then go watch Death Parade. Because
I would suggest that. Go check out Death Billiards first, so you kind of get the idea of what it's about, and then watch Death Parade, and it's awesome. It's great. So I would 10 out of 10 recommend Death Parade. Mira, I'm sure you would as well. So, yeah. Well, like I said, it's probably my favorite show of 2015, my favorite anime of 2015 so far. And there's, it depends on how Gangsta goes this summer, whether or not it's in contention or not. But that's the only other show that I'm really hyped for, which is a show called Gangsta that's coming this summer. But no, Death Parade, one of my favorite shows from this year. Probably one of my favorite animes to come out in a while. One of my favorites. That, and I think that and Free are probably two of my favorite new shows that have come out in the last 5 years.
We're going to have to cover Free now that we talked about it.
Yeah, we'll do an episode about Free. We'll do what we talk about. Well, we have the spoiler cast we did about it, so.
Yeah, but
we'll do another episode about it. Don't worry. But we'll probably do it when the dub finally comes out.
We'll just double duty with like Death Parade.
Yeah, seriously. We'll probably do it when the dub finally comes out for it. But anyway, guys. So that is the end of the third episode of Animu Wut Do. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode of Animu Wut Do. As always, I am Greg. I'm joined by Mira, and since we always call this since we're calling this an anime watch club / podcast, we're gonna let you guys know what we're gonna be talking about next week. Next week we're gonna go a little more, or next week, in 2 weeks I should say, because next week is another episode of the Snazzycast. In 2 weeks we're going to be talking about a show that also came out earlier this year, which is a weird, quirky, fun show, Cute High Earth Defense Club Love. That is the show we're gonna be talking about next time, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to go check that out, you can check that out on Crunchyroll. If you want to go check that out, and then be prepared for us discussing it on the next episode of Animu Wut Do. If anybody wants to check out Death Parade, it's on Funimation's on-demand streaming site. You can go check that out as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys later.